I love like black music. I've loved it I was like 5 years old listening to like 50 Cent before primary school, man.
Turn my headphones up. Louder.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of 5GUYS1PODCAST, where we actually have 5 guys this time.
Yeah, let's go.
We'll welcome Billy, new to these podcasts. How are you, Billy?
I'm good, man. Yeah.
Good. How's everyone else?
All
Yeah,
good.
doing all right, mate.
All good.
Very good.
Cool. So the discussion for today is going to be what has been on everyone's social media, everyone's platforms, everyone's mind lately, and that's Black Lives Matter. In particular, what is being done about this movement of the Black Lives Matter, the protests, the posts. What are your guys' interpretation of it, Waj?
I think I missed what you said, mate.
I'm leaving that bit in. I'm leaving that bit in.
God's sake. God.
Come on, right.
Waj just had a problem with his connection all this time. Aaron, you heard me, man. Waj will get the gist.
Yeah, I'll get the gist. Go on, Aaron.
Yeah, so I think essentially this was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. I think it really shone a light, for whatever reason, more so than others. It went more viral than other videos. What I'll talk about, of course, is the death of George Floyd, or the murder of George Floyd. It captured the attention of essentially the whole world, and it really has sparked a movement that was already going on, but really put a lot of momentum behind it. And I really do think that we're looking at a period now which hopefully is the start of a period of great change in terms of eradicating racism, not just in the US, but across the globe.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, obviously, if you've been living under a rock all this time, so a black man called George Floyd was murdered by a police officer that had his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It was clear murder. There was no accident about it. It was obviously intentional. You can see it was. And he got charged with second-degree murder, as well as the other 3 cops have also been charged with aiding and abetting of that murder. How do you think social media, or this situation in particular, has maybe been a cause and a reason why those charges were given where they weren't given in other places?
Wait, mate, repeat your question. I can't understand.
So like, how do you think social media has helped with like the charges being given and spotlight being brought onto these situations?
I'm not too sure. You know what I mean? It's an interesting one here, because I think for like the past 2-3 years, like there's been an increase in police brutality in America against blacks, of course. And it's all been filmed, it's all been documented on Twitter, but you'd hear about it like, oh, this hasn't been reported, this hasn't been on the news at all in any country, let's post it on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. That's one of the reasons why I left Twitter, because I just see it and like nothing would be like done about it. So
right.
I'm not sure why or how George Floyd's case being the one that ended up changing the game. I'm pretty sure maybe because like we could all see that evidently, you know, he was in agony for a whole almost 9 minutes, like he couldn't breathe, you know. So, but I think the use of social media definitely helped spread the word, and not only spread the word, but get the officer convicted to second degree, because he's firstly put to third, and everyone's like, bro, third isn't adequate for him. Do you know what I mean? And it was like social media helped with justice, let me say, because firstly he was fired and you said, no, that's not enough. Then you got the other people got fired. You said, yeah, cool, but that's not enough because no one's arrested. Then he got charged for third degree. Fair enough, but we won second. Then we fought for second degree and it happened, you know. So I think social media helped. Everyone's social media presence helped with the spread of the news and also like justice, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it helped unify a lot of people together. So it was almost like, look, we're all one organization versus you guys. We're gonna
Mm,
fight for what we deserve. That's what
mm,
I thought of it.
mm,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So let's look at like solutions that have been brought into play with the Black Lives Matter movement and the continuous protests that have gone on around the world. So it happened in all 50 states, in 18 countries, I believe. It was one of the biggest movements for a very long time. And let's talk about some of the solutions that have been brought to light about it. So Wad, you came up with like a few solutions like defunding. Do you want to go talk more about that?
So I've read recently that I see a lot of people on Instagram posting these pages about defunding the police. But to be honest, I don't really agree with it completely because I feel like defunding the police isn't actually going to solve the solution, but rather the money within the police should be spread to different causes.
Yeah.
So just an example is the training process for a lot of these police officers, especially in America, is very short. I think for some people it's only a few weeks or something, but realistically, having a training procedure that only lasts a few weeks is not enough. There needs to be continuous training for these
mm,
people throughout their whole time in the police force. And I recently listened to someone who said that it should be around 10% of their time as a police officer should be dedicated towards education and training.
Right.
They can have practical lessons, they can have actors or something that can bring them real life scenarios that they can practice with. I feel like that is one element that definitely needs working on, and a bunch of others as well that I'll go into shortly. What do you
Yeah.
guys think?
Billy, let's have your take on this.
I thought like similar to what you about like spending money differently. I think it'd be useful to have kind of independent kind of organisation which assesses the police. So it's not the police assessing the police; it's someone else assessing the police.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives an unbiased input, and then if there's anything kind of wrong, then there's not the pressure of but we're both from the police. It's someone independent coming in, looking from a outsider point of view.
Yeah, I think one thing that they could do with that is what they should do is every police officer should have a body cam, and what should happen is that footage should get sent to an independent company or organization, like you said, who can review that and see whether or not the police officer did the right thing or not. That can be used as further training and like further improve the police force as well in the future.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So what do you think, how do you think that all of this has changed our view on racism? Like, what have people learned? How has your view been changed on things? Aaron, do you want to?
Yeah. Yeah, I think to be completely honest, it's kind of really opened my eyes to the extent that racism is still present in our society. I think before, obviously, like I knew that racism still existed, of course, but in my mind, growing up, with black friends, my girlfriend's mixed race, like I'm in racist in no way. I don't discriminate. I don't, see, what color. I don't judge people by color or anything like that. So perhaps because I have that perspective, I couldn't comprehend or didn't realize that people could actually still be racist, or so many people could still be racist in this day and age. So for me, it's definitely like opened my eyes really to like the world we're living in, like I said, with all the hate that's been circled on social media, which is brought to light, like I said, the racism that does exist today in our society. So it's been very eye-opening for me, and I think it's as well made me realise that we all need to do our part. Like it's not, a lot of people, many people have been saying now is it's not enough just to not be racist. You need to actively be fighting for this, and I think that is true. And it's it doesn't have to be posted on social media. You can be signing petitions, you can be donating to the causes, whatever you can do in whatever way you can. Even if it's just educating like your parents or grandparents or someone that doesn't really appreciate what's going on. We all need to be doing our part. So I think that's what I've taken away from it.
Yeah, like I 100% agree with you, and I think making it really uncomfortable for people to be stereotypical and also racist, because a lot of the times I like, I'm Indian, Waj, you're Pakistani, Slet, you're black, like Aaron, like half Nepalese, half white. Like we've taken jokes, I'm sure Billy, you have as well. You've taken jokes that are stereotypical and kind of just laughed it off, right? Or someone's been racist, maybe like indirectly, or a friend has been racist, and you just laugh it off as a joke. But what that does, I think, it creates like this slippery slope where if they're racist once, or if they're stereotypical once, they're more likely to do it again. And then that then may be said to a person who doesn't like that, and you might be on the wrong side of them and face consequences in that way. So I think calling people out first of all and making it like really uncomfortable so they kind of remember it, right? Like, I don't know if you've had an experience at school or something where you get remembered getting told off and this one teacher really got through to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and create like an impact on you. So I think don't take it at all. Note it down. Like, let's say a colleague has been racist or said things on multiple occasions and you've expressed that you don't like it. Note these things down. Like, when do they do it? How do they say it? What do they say? And try and get like some sort of evidence to that. Maybe get like a witness, maybe get someone who, like a witness, so someone else is there and they're, have the same story as you. Tell someone, tell like a colleague, tell your managers, tell teachers, whoever, so someone can help you with that support, because two minds is always better than one. And then get into contact with so there's Stop Hate UK on 0800 138 1625, or Childline is 0800 quadruple one. And last of all, like, report to the police, like, because this has really, I've never seen anything before in my lifetime, like 22 years of living. I've never seen something as powerful as the movement we have today of Black Lives Matter. And I think, like, that's crazy that we're saying Black Lives Matter. Like, Black Lives Matter is like the minimal thing. It's the minimum. And like, let's try and get everyone's view on people that say all lives matter. Billy, what's your view on that?
I just think it's kind of like a cover up to basically whoever, like, people who say it just kind of are trying to discredit the Black Lives Matter by turning people against them, implying that they're suggesting that only Black Lives Matter, which clearly is not what the point is. The point is that Black Lives Matter as well as everyone else's, and it's black lives that have been put at risk because of nothing that they count, just for this colour of their skin. And obviously it's the same for any kind of discrimination, but right now there's a clear problem in terms of black lives. And I just think basically, I think that the all lives matter thing is
to say the least. Aaron, you clearly had something to say about this.
I just think, like I guess most people at this point have seen the metaphor that's been going around on social media, that if someone's house is on fire, the fire brigade comes. People don't start saying, "Oh, why aren't you, chucking water on the other houses?" Because that's not the house that's on fire. Like, everybody already acknowledges through their conduct every day that everyone's lives matter.
Yeah,
that all lives matter. The issue is that people are, namely racists, aren't acknowledging that, and aren't showing through their conduct every day that Black lives matter. And the murder of George Floyd was, the biggest example of that recently. The one is, we know everyone's lives matter, but it's black people at the moment that are in danger from police brutality, in danger not just from brutality from the police, but from, other civilians, in danger in society every day because of the colour of their skin. And that's the issue that we need to draw attention to. If we just went around saying all lives matter, well, that, we're not throwing attention on the tragic events which have occurred. And that's the issue with that.
Yeah, I think quickly to touch point, I think why it has recently become a massive movement is because it wasn't just George Floyd. It was Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, right? Ahmaud Arbery, yeah. And these were pretty close together in terms of things that have happened and the intention behind it, right? So let's get back onto what we're talking to there. Like, Select, what is your view on people saying all lives matter?
I think it's just watering down the movement at hand. You know what I mean? Like, that's a great analogy with the fires and the the houses and that. But yeah, it's just extinguishing what we're trying to fight for, and it's like it's ignorant to say the least. You know, because in reality, all lives do matter. But what are we fighting for right now? We're fighting for Black lives. You know? Yeah, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Waj, we'll just talk about the views on people saying all lives matter. What's your view?
Yeah, like it's very similar. Like you said, there's multiple different ways that you can bring the point across. That I like the way that you described before, Aaron. There's also the one where, imagine you're at a dinner table and all of you are eating rice, but when it comes to your turn, you don't. All lives so it doesn't come. Everyone needs their time when it's for them.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't. It just
say the rice
right,
analogy again, Waj.
I'll find it for you later. I don't know exactly, but it's something to do with the fact that when you're eating at a table and everyone needs their food, right?
Yeah.
But when it's your turn and you don't have any food in your plate, the person doesn't give it to you when you need it.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
I'll find
that
exact thing.
Yeah,
I'll find that exact thing for you later. I'll find the exact thing for you later. But either way, like you said, Salah, it's about who needs help right now. Currently, it's these people. Give them the support that they need.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think everyone doing their part on social media and stuff, and actually
was how there's different types of racism too.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So yeah, everyone doing their part on social media and spreading this awareness. So yeah, like links to information. There's been recent Netflix shows out that have become more popular due to this. So some of them are like called The 13th and When They See Us. And When They See Us especially is a really good like docuseries of kind of there were five guys called the Central Park Five, and they got wrongly convicted of something they completely didn't do, but because they were Black and they were easy to blame at that moment in time, it became this huge trial where their whole lives changed and they weren't even guilty. So I think serving your time wrongly is completely unfair, and this is why this has been such a massive movement, and unfortunately it's been a massive movement for a long time. So at the date of this recording, it's the 20th of June. So yesterday was the 19th of June, obviously, but it was another day also called Juneteenth. So Juneteenth is essentially the oldest celebration honoring the end of slavery in the US, so 155 years ago. It's to remember how far we've come in society and how we still have more to do and continue with the pursuit of equality and justice for all. And I think, did anyone else hear of Juneteenth before?
No.
I heard it before this year, mate.
Yeah, like, so you can kind of see how things are actually changing, right? You kind of feel that you're gaining more information. Like, when was the last time you actually Google searched about racism or police brutality? So I think it is very important that people keep sharing, and like we are, like, doing these podcasts, informing people.
Yeah, I think essentially everything that's happening, it just needs to be kept up, because there's a tendency with the internet, it focuses on like kind of one, I don't want to say viral thing, because I feel like that kind of demeans it, but it focuses on one topic at a time. As soon as something else happens, the attention shifts away from that. And I think it's important that we really keep up this momentum, that, you keep posting about Black Lives Matter, you keep drawing awareness to the issue at hand, you keep signing the petitions. If you can afford to donate, whatever you can do. that you carry on having the difficult conversations with people, that you know we carry on moving forward. I think that's the important thing. We maintain what people are doing right now.
What are you going to say, Billy?
I think the awareness thing is actually really important because I think personally I was very much ignorant and unaware. I was kind of like, I understood that racism was a thing, obviously, but I suppose not really experiencing it. You don't realise how prominent it is. And I think also like the whole like Black Lives Matter thing is kind of like, you see people posting things like against it. And like personally, I can see like how stupid what they're posting is, but they're so adamant that they're right, and then like so many people are commenting also like agreeing with each other, and I'm just looking at it like how.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of opened my eyes to like the ignorance both of myself to the prominence of racism, but also ignorance of people in what they're saying is racist. So I think it's important to kind of keep going, and especially like because it's got such a big effort being put into it right now. I think it's important to kind of jump on it and keep it going, and don't let it kind of fizzle out and then just be something that happened for a couple of months. Like it's something that needs to keep being worked at and kind of let it snowball until we're at a point where there's equality kind of thing.
Yeah. So how to put you on the spot, to be honest, like, how have you thought there has been a difference in maybe the way you've been treated, or you've kind of seen how a person of another ethnicity or color has been treated in comparison to you?
It's a tough one, because when some of these things, like, you don't know whether people are being malicious or whether they genuinely don't like you or being racist, you know what I mean? And one thing I don't agree with, like, and I suppose a lot of Black people do, I don't know whether it's a joke or not, but a lot of people try to victimize themselves, like, oh, nah, they did this, I'm sure they're racist because I'm Black. Like, it's not right, do you know what I mean?
It's called like pulling the racist card, isn't it?
Yeah, that's also watering down the movement. But I mean, I've definitely experienced things like that. Like, for example, in China, like, it's prime there, and obviously Chinese people are quite passive in their culture. But for example, when you be waiting in line for some food in the shops, or like waiting to be served at a restaurant, they'll like serve everybody else, and then when you see a person standing still, not even that they come to you, but when you see a person stand still, like, you have to call them instead of them coming to you to serve you, you know. So little things like that, like, you can see it's indirect racism, and the passiveness says a lot. You know, when people like on social media now, when everybody's fighting for Black Lives Matter, when people are quiet, like, it says a lot. And like, let's bring this up for discussion, because it's like
100%,
especially like people who aren't Black, right? I'm sure a lot of the things that go on in their head is like, well, it's not really my place to say, and XYZ, and like, I completely understand it, you know. Nobody really wants to like flood their timeline or social media, but in a time like this, like, everyone just has to band up, you know. We have to group up and be like, guys, this is a situation, because it's not Black people's fight, it's everyone's fight, but we're just fighting for like the Black lives. Do you know what I mean? So what does everyone else think about everyone being like, about people being passive, like celebrities being passive, not really saying anything about it? What do you think about it?
Yeah, so
I would like to say that people.
Go on, Raj.
I was just going to say, I'd like to say that people are doing things on social media. Not working, is it?
Love it.
All I was saying was that I'd like to think that. Can you hear me now? There you go.
Yeah, we can hear that. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I'd like to think that behind the scenes that these celebrities are doing things, and they're just not posting it on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But for the people that aren't doing anything, they definitely have to. Like, we all need to unite together globally to tackle these issues, just like we've done in the past with various other things. Like, ultimately, I think that we will do it. And one thing that I compare it to is like how homosexuality 100, 200 years ago was completely frowned upon, and you get disowned straight away.
Not even that long
If,
ago.
well, and look at how
20 years ago.
and look at how that's become today.
Yeah.
If you see someone who is homosexual, you don't think twice about it, right? Ultimately, I feel like racism will get to that stage too, but it's just a matter of time, and also the amount of effort, energy, and commitment that we all put in today.
Yeah, like 100%. I've seen people on my social media kind of celebrate the black kind of culture, you know, the music, the braids, the use of the N-word. Even they've really tried to, you know, get it, like they've been celebrating it, kind of thing. But when it comes to actually sorting a problem out to do with that, they're silent.
Yeah,
Nobody's saying anything, and I'm seeing that on major, like 2 occasions, and I question what. And these are people that have like big followings as well. It's not like they've got like 200 or 100 followers. They've got huge followings with huge influence, you know, like they're kind of admired, let's say. And I think what are you doing? Like, you don't deserve to be celebrating it if you're not going to try and sort anything out to do with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, like, if you're gonna indulge in the culture, whether it's in terms of like music or food or anything, then you should also support the movement, because
That's it.
the music or food or whatever comes from the culture, and so if you're happy, and like vast majority of people, like people in England at least, indulge in a lot of black music. So they should be like supporting the movement.
Yeah,
Definitely. I think, like, I just want to say, like, one quick thing as well. Like, if you go back and listen to like Dave's performance at the Brits, like, he brought light to all of this, like all of this we're talking about. He put it all into one song, and I think, like, and that's the thing as well. Like, he's an example. Black people. Like, how many people listen to music which is created by black people, and yet, like, they're passive on this movement and not saying anything. But I'd encourage everybody to go and listen to the song "Black" by Dave, and especially his performance at the Brits, because everything he addressed everything from passivity to, you know, people in the UK saying, "Oh, you know, but we're not, you know, we're not as racist as this country. Like, if the least racist is still racist," that's like a line that he said in that. I think, like, everything he said in that is so true, and he hit the nail on the head for like all the different kind of like sub issues in this, like I say, including the fact that if you like indulge, whether it's food, music, you know, whatever it is, if you indulge in black culture, you should be supporting this.
Any culture, in that matter of fact.
Any culture, of course.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like I definitely think I'm just a guy, and I think, you know,
Just to like kind of highlight like the whole Dave performance at the Brits again, I do think it's really powerful. Like, at the time, I was like it kind of took me aback a bit, and then going back, I listened to it like last week or something. It just seemed to me like so much more, and I was like, wow, actually, like
that's actually
I feel like that could have actually spurred something at the time if people paid more attention to what he was saying.
Definitely. Like, listening to the words that people say. Like, I love like black music. I've loved it I was like 5 years old listening to like 50 Cent before primary school, man. Like, I just love that stuff. And obviously I've said the N-words because, you know, you sing along to the song and you think nothing of it. But that's kind of fits into the whole how do we stop racism type of thing. And it's actually calling yourself out as well. So, like, if a song says it, that's it. I'm not saying it. Yeah. Like, N-words in Paris by Jay-Z and Kanye West. Yeah. You literally cannot sing half the song. I still don't say it. Yeah. And it's not that, I don't say it when I'm in front of other people. It's even by myself, because then you kind of create this habit for yourself, let's say, like an unhealthy habit, and you may say it when you don't mean it, or you might say it in a club, or you might say it elsewhere. But I think actually learning about the word and learning how it changed over time was a huge thing, you know, from the N-word ending in like ER from the start, where it was used as a derogative term towards like slaves, to how it transformed to black people using it with other black people as it like the N-word ending in US, which kind of comes from kings and power, right? And that's why like black people can call other black people the N-word. And like, Select, what is your take on this and other people calling or saying the N-word, or even calling you? I'm sure it's happened to you as well.
I think like it's a fine line, but at the same time, it's really not. Like, to me, yeah, if you're not black, bro, just don't say it. And like, it used to annoy me when I was younger, yeah, like, yo, I was about to expose them. But you know those silly girls that we grew up with, right? they be singing songs, yeah, singing things like Drake and then they'd say the N-word and that. And I'm like, just because this guy says it, like, it doesn't give you a right to say it. And then you try like pull them up on it, be like, hey, like, you know, you actually can't say it. Like, no, but if you can say it, why can't, bro, like, there's history behind the words, you know what I mean? And like, people just don't understand that. Another thing is that one thing, we're just talking about like retraining police stuff. Another thing that we could do to just help everybody, because I know there are a few people who are ignorant to like the use of the meaning of the N-word and that. We should be taught in school, right? And like not just in Africa or whatever, everywhere. Because I grew up learning about Hitler and the bubonic plague. Yeah, like cool. Those are some pretty like, you know, rough times. I'm not gonna take that away from anybody. Those are serious times. The country went through, the world went through actually. But no one like talks about colonialism or imperialism, of how like settlers came into African countries and took their resources and sold them back to us like they weren't ours. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. And I'm not even like, honestly, you know, because I'm black, like it's gonna be easy to like, oh, he's taking it personally. But like, these are things that we genuinely need to know. Do you know what I mean? And also, like how that made people view black people as inferior or not good enough. You know what I mean? Like for example, Nigeria was made off of a business agreement, like a trade deal. White settlers came into Nigeria, broke the country up into two, north and south. And then after a few hundred years, they said, let's actually make Nigeria into one country again. How are you going to come into another person's country and like just dictate terms like that? Do you know what I mean? But those are things that we seriously don't learn in school. And like I'm a firm believer in the term or the saying, knowledge is power. So it would help if we were all well versed about what happened in the earlier days, because we can prevent things like that happening now, and we can see why us fighting for Black lives or gender-based violence or equality between men and women will help move us into a better society. Do you know what I mean?
I think as well, it's important to teach it in the right way, because like people will talk about like the British Empire as if it's like a great thing, and kind of gloss over the facts of it and the kind of recent parts, and not mention that, just focus on the Britain used it was so great. So I think it's important to teach it in an unbiased way and kind of like show all parts of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's like they kind of, I feel like it was almost like a token topic that like in school, I remember in year 7, the only part of history we focused on which involved like black culture and black heritage was we did a short topic on slavery in year 7, and I remember all our teacher did was he just put Roots on for us to watch for a couple of weeks. He just told us what we already knew, that Americans went over and captured black people in West Africa and took them over to America to be their slaves. It didn't teach us, you know, about how white families today are still benefiting from the money that the US government gave to them for their slaves when slavery was abolished. But, you know, way back when, 155 years ago. It doesn't focus, you know, on how that transcends into culture today, like the racism today. We weren't taught any of that. We weren't taught about the struggle that people went through. It was just kind of like a gloss over. This is what happened. Like I said, putting Roots on that didn't teach us anything. But yeah, like the idea of tokenism as well needs to be stopped. It can't just be let's throw this in here. you know, to make it seem like we're doing this, you need to create real change.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I think what people should be aware of that. Okay, it's all great having this like Black Lives movement, and you know everyone's being informed and they're gaining knowledge, but it's about the people in power as well, right? Because that racism can be redesigned. You know how it has been through, at first having slaves, then incarcerating a lot of Black people to then essentially become slaves again, to now police brutality specifically towards Black people because they can't really get their anger out maybe another way or something. So you see how it gets redesigned over time. So it's about like literally taking a knife and just cutting that off essentially.
Yeah, definitely. And to go back to your point about like it goes down to the people in power, I think that's exactly what it comes down to, and that's what makes me hope, or gives me hope I should say, that our generation is a generation where we're going to hopefully eradicate racism. Like there's always going to be a, you know, one sociopath here or there which is racist or is homophobic, but I really believe like our generation can eradicate racism, because the people that are going to be in power in 20, 30, 40 years time, it's not just going to be white middle class men. It's going to be women from you know, of all colours, all ethnicities, all nationalities. Like I'm going to be a lawyer. When I look at, you know, my fellow like future trainees at the firm I'm going to, I don't just see white people. I see people, you know, of all genders, all sexualities, all colours, and it's that diversity coming up through, you know, professions of influence. You know, the business leaders of tomorrow, the politicians of tomorrow. Parliament is going to be filled with Black men, Black women, Asian men, Asian women, all different descents, all different ethnicities, and with that kind of diversity, it means we will no longer be creating racist laws and racist policies, you know, like in an indirect way. And that's, I mean, it's not just about like a law to be racist doesn't have to be explicitly racist. It can be directing funding to certain areas which benefit white people as opposed to Black people who are unfortunately in, you know, lower socioeconomic areas, etc. It's things like that, and I believe with that kind of diversity in the real positions of influence in this world, in the years to come, we'll be able to change that, so we create a world that is truly equal for everybody. And like that's where my hope comes from, that, you know, our generation could be the ones that really makes a change.
Oh yeah, I agree with that, to be fair. I was saying the other day about like we're called the snowflake generation because apparently we're offended too easily, but I think actually like we're offended by the right things.
Right.
Like we're standing up against discrimination on many different levels, and then the people who are too kind of stuck in their ways to see that like things are wrong will just brush it off, call us the snowflake generation. But actually we're the ones willing to make a stand and say like, no, this isn't right. Just because you've done it for 50 years it doesn't mean that it's okay.
Yeah,
like there is hope for the future generation, because as our generation and younger ones become kind of ruling population, then people in power who are snowflakes. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I definitely agree with that, and I think people are starting to realize that as humans, if we work together, we actually get a lot more done. Like if we just work collectively, we get a lot more done.
Yeah.
100%, definitely.
Anything else you guys would like to add?
I think all I would say is keep doing your part. If you haven't already done something, please do something. Like I said, it's not just good enough to kind of silently support what's going on. You need to either post something on social media, you need to educate somebody, or even if it's just educating yourself, sign a petition, donate some money, even if it's just £2, £1, whatever it is, do something to help this, and let's maintain this so we can really create change.
I think kind of follow on from that, I think kind of to have an idea of like it's not too late, and it's also like you shouldn't see yourself as a hypocrite if you're like if you didn't do something earlier on but now you are, because it's kind of showing growth, and it's just showing that you've educated yourself, and it's a positive thing. You're like, it's not being hypocritical, but I feel like some people may feel like that.
Yeah,
I think that's not the case.
Yeah.
Slet, any last words to add?
Not just reiterating what Aaron and Billy said, because like they hit the nail on the head. But also like
Yeah.
it also just does a lot for like black people in general. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people aren't asking for too much. Just to, me personally, but just to see any of my friends who aren't black post like something, post something. Oh, hey, can you see me? Can you see me? Am I still good?
Yeah, you still good.
Alright, my bad. But just to see like my friends of different ethnicities and cultures post something, like share a story or like sign a petition, like it does a lot, because like, oh, like excellent, we're in this together, and I know I can message you about any problem I might be facing being black, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just a sense of togetherness, man. I say let's keep that up.
Yeah, definitely, like from a
Yeah.
supportive standpoint, and as this will be on YouTube, Spotify, whatever, any of creative person out there, create something, man. Like don't see this as a trend, see this as an opportunity where you're able to spread a word with your creativity.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
Thank you if you've made it this far into listening to the podcast, and give a thumbs up, a like, subscribe. Check out everyone that was on this podcast today. Give them a nice little cheeky follow as well. And we'll be back with more podcasts for you. Cool. Peace.
Lovely.
So sorry about that before. My connection during the podcast wasn't very good. So there's a few points I just really wanted to make. So I'm making this video just for that, just because I think they're really important. Now, I mentioned in the podcast that some of the techniques that I've thought of or that I've read about as well to target or to combat some of the problems in the police force, especially in the USA, is that, first of all, I think that all police officers should have body cameras, and then the footage can then be sent to an independent body who will judge whether or not the offence and the reaction by the police officer was acceptable, and they can then decide in front of a judge or some sort of organisation. And I also mentioned about the training pathway, how it should be continuous, how police officers shouldn't just have 2 or 3 weeks or even 2 months of training. It should be continuous, and just as every other profession is, we should continually be trained. They should be continually trained, sorry. And there were a few other things that I just wanted to mention as well. So one of them was that I feel like there should be some new laws regarding how police officers are able to stop people on assumptions such as gender, age, race, religion, and even things like HIV status. It's ridiculous, and I think that there should be some specific laws to stop this. Now, the other thing was that I think that we should demilitarize the police. In the UK, in Germany, in Japan, if you compare the number of police killings to the USA, it's ridiculous. And every year, over 1,000 people are killed by the police in America. In the UK, Germany, and Japan, it's less than 1% of that. So I think that this is something that definitely needs to be addressed. The police in the USA don't need all of these military equipment. So now that I've said that, I wanted to go on to some ways that I feel like racism in general will evolve and how we should combat it. So one thing that we briefly touched upon in the podcast, I'm not too sure about whether or not it was said, was that essentially we need to go back to the start. And, when we're in school, when we're getting taught in class, when we're learning history, instead of learning all the different names of Henry VIII's wives, names, what we should be looking at is learning about colonialism and imperialism, and really paying attention to where they came from, where they started from, what happened, what were the good things, but also what were the bad things. And often we focus so much on the good things that we've done as a nation that sometimes we forget about the bad things. And if we can really bring that up in an unbiased manner, then we can really give people the knowledge that they need to, avoid things like racism, understanding the slave trade, understanding how countries became countries based on these two principles I mentioned, colonialism and imperialism. Understanding what happened and how they evolved over time is really important, and all kids should start to learn this. It will also help if parents could help to integrate this knowledge when they're at home, give them some attention and give them some teachings. A good way that the school could do this is to have regular talks about these things, have regular debates and discussions on these topics, and dismantle some of these preconceived beliefs about race. And this can really help to educate everyone, you know. It can really help to appreciate and understand the privileges that we've got as well. So I think that's really important. And I think schools themselves need to work on different aspects of racism, like whether that's institutional racism. You know, black boys are 3 times more likely to be expelled or suspended than white people are. And the thing is, this institutional racism is not just in schools, it's in various different organizations. I mean, I've even seen it in the NHS, for example, where black or Asian doctors are 3 times more likely to get suspended or put in front of the General Medical Council for wrongdoings. Ideally, this shouldn't be the case, and we need to continuously educate ourselves. We need to investigate these things and find more solutions. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening. Sorry I couldn't really get my points across on the podcast, and hopefully I'll sort that connection out for the next episode.